My logical explanation of the post that I shared on purpose serving yesterday under the function 1+1 under the human brain communication in the universe, right? My 40 years educational journey and experience, BALE speaking, for those who listen in from different parts of the universe, who functions under the same communication line that I'm explaining in means the same season that humanity finds themselves in with Rabia Elise's birth womb, in every part of Mama Anna Philander, Annekie Leenloper, Anna 1969, Anna of Ilan's Vlei, Anna from Calvinia, Anna in Paal, that was in Paal, yes, my mama used to stay in Paal, and our grandma Martha's daughter, right? Now, when I explain what I'm explaining, what I have posted for those people who are really listening into my leading this generation discussions, and I really posting it, and I'm really recording it in our YouTube room because I really want the information to go through, and I'm still having problems on my Castbox app, and because the information to me are sensitive for every process of humanity. And I've educated everyone through the leading this generation rooms. And I didn't want to record it now, and I just heard the recordings in my house, and I really made time now to just do that recording. And this recording that I'm now doing. In this explanation, right? So where are we at with the human brain communication? My knowledge, and when I tell people, no matter how much information you'll have about this communication process, do not silent and AWOKH Business off, because what I'm explaining in a season is not something that you kill a baby Rabia about or Mama Anna Philander's house about. And when humanity educates one another, that everyone is said it to everyone, and they silence a Rabia into a corner about it, then the communication comes through the way it comes through. When I explain it in all my explanations on AWOKH Business, in my AWOKH app, on my social media page, in every requirement for humanity to respond in the complete functioning that human beings are required to function on earth, but to acknowledge one another, to not be quieted out while living your life journey and while allowing yourself to be fine on the journey, and to not allow yourself to sit in poverty and on oppression based on someone else's requirement for your household. And when the function are so sensitive amongst humanity and everyone wants to silence you out because there's more intelligent people in the world than Rabia Elise in the discussion. And I'm going to explain us under the 1+1 terminology that stands hand in hand with the human brain communication that are now the cell phone, that are now the science room, that are now the mathematics class for Rabia Elise's explanation. And when humanity learns that the 1+1 function are the most logical explanation of how the human brain would communicate and with reason and with function next to technology in our generation of this year 2024, that I find myself 40 years old. I'm baby 22nd11. I have said a lot of communication about it so that the people that exactly logically listen to where AWOKH Business communicates from, where I really find myself at, and why it's important for people not to quiet one another, and not quiet in a firm and direct way, quiet in a way that people sometimes want to kill one another because they just want to have someone else explain it, and there's technology that can do it, and everyone has said it. Then we learn that the human being does not only function on technology alone. And I remember when I was in school, I had to leave the mathematics class and I couldn't do mathematics, and I didn't go to science class because of my logical way of reasoning on my life journey. And I remember not allowing myself, not only that, but really mathematics is something that you get lost in sometimes. And when you find yourself lost in the mathematics class, to me, Rabia Elise, it's the normal function of humanity, and I can find myself lost on my life journey. Because the classroom was never only a classroom. And if I have to explain it today, because those years when I left the mathematics class, I didn't really know why I didn't want to do mathematics. When you get mathematics in your first year in secondary school, you get the opportunity in the second year. By the third year, you have to decide for yourself because it now is your life journey. And I didn't realize it, and I stepped away and I learned, but mathematics is really now, I'm really not a dumb person, but this mathematics is really technologically challenging where I find myself within the classroom. And I'm surrounded with people in a community that black and white is still black and white. Not because they want to be rude, but because of a lot of processes amongst humanity. And that looks exactly how the earth functions at. And only because I found myself in a classroom where I was not required to be there. And I had to allow myself to be there. And I remember walking with my brother Anton. And we came from New Orleans, Vale. And it was my brother Anton's final year in primary school. And I still had to do a few years by the way the primary school because of the community that we have moved to. And my brother Anton deciding, but really now he's not going to secondary school. And he's also not going to the way to go a few months further because really now, logically listening to school and to the education function, it's logically challenging his life journey. And I remember him making the decision, and I was so disappointed in my brother because I really now thought he's gonna again walk with me. We are born next to one another in the womb. We were the 7 children, we were the babies in the womb. And for me, it was such a sensitive, amazing education. And he was in the essence of his New Orleans Vale school years. And he could do what he wanted, and he could get to the school however he wanted. And he still enjoyed every communication and education and part of the communityness of the education function in rooms. Now remember the year that we walked through the park and he said, but really now he's now really not going to Dalveda Primary. Now remember how disappointed and in a low level I felt, but not realizing his reasons and how the human brain functions and the differences that he already knew that is happening maybe in secondary school, that is now not going to be the same as New Orleans Vale Primary School. Now Veda was now not going to be the same as New Orleans Vale Primary School. The functioning of the processes that sometimes challenges the human being on earth. And that when the humanity finds themselves challenged, and I learned that my brothers was now not dumb, my mother was now not dumb, our father was not dumb, but the situation of dumbness is the whole time here around our household. And I was a little girl and I had to allow myself in the classroom to listen. I remember secondary school teachers said, Rabia, you have to allow yourself that. Your sister was very well educated. And I looked at them and I thought, let me give myself this chance in secondary school. Let me allow myself to just listen to the education in secondary school. And to just allow myself to study this work so that I can at least listen to why the teachers were now really requiring me to really now listen to the education of the season and generation that I found myself at. And to me, it was never in vain, really, for how the teachers has really required me, and they were really direct in saying, it's very nice for you to now relax on secondary school and to not just have a jolly ride through it, but really, you're really gonna want to also, achieve the best with where you are at. And I remember giving myself that opportunity in the classroom to listen. And when you allow yourself to listen, then you do not silence yourself off of everyone in the classroom, but you really listen to every part of the education. In some class, you can have a jolly ride and you play and you allow yourself to learn how on your pace that you want to learn. And you allow yourself also sometimes to just listen to what the teacher explains so that you really don't lose out on such an amazing journey of being your person in your birth womb, maybe the Rabia person, and then you allow yourself that completeness of that journey. I always educate. And when the human being are required to be functioning under the education function of the universe, and the education function of the universe are exactly intertwined with technology. We're not going to say with science because science is really anytime, anyway, every part of us. We're going to say when the human brain are so intertwined with technology, That everyone says something, but that's not the cell phone recording. In Rabia says, but let's play around everyone. Because really now the earth is really looking disrupted. And I know I can also be sounding disrupted sometimes, and then no one wants to listen to a disrupted person. But such is the communication in the universe and the part of humanity on earth that are every part of the universe communications and functioning. And when we function in all of what is happening on earth, and everyone wants to put us in a room, and they want to put an AWOKH business in a room, and a room sometimes looks like a prison, then Rabia Elise is now really not going to sit back and not say what I'm required to say. I'm not really now not going to go off of Instagram only for someone else that doesn't want to listen to me on that day. I'm not really now not going to sit and say that I'm now all on the right about it. Because remember what I also post on my Facebook page and on my Instagram pages is there's no wrong about anything on this earth. But we have a requirement to respond to right and wrong only because of the challenges that we can sometimes functioning in the universe that sometimes challenges humanity on earth. And then we don't call it only technology that we are functioning on, but we call it every part of the being. We call ourselves the human being, and the being of existence is every functioning required that the human being have to sometimes also function on. That is different parts of the universe, and that not all of us has an insight in. When we say too much information about it, they say it makes us challenging, but technology anyway makes us challenging. Some people reason, so we anyway share the information, because if we are going to be so disrupted on earth, then we might as well structure the process, as I say. And someone else says, but we do not structure because we structure dog structure. And Rubia says, but structure is under the educational vocabulary. And I educate and I say, but I educate you all in a vocabulary, no matter how wrong it sounds to you all in any day. And while we are in the logical listening of how we explain ourselves with every reaction that we react upon and that we react at, being a human being on earth, we function logically explanation under the 1+1 function, the one that allows for the other. The earth that was meant for us to excel in all that we can. The one that allows for the birth womb, the man next to the woman, however people explain it in our day, because we are functioning under a generation that allows themselves to continue to function and to continue to not say that the universe are dependent on humanity to function. The Bible says the universe are dependent, humanity has the authority over everything. Rabbi Ali say logically listening, everyone. There's logical communications in the universe, and we do not treat anyone in the universe like that. I say that what if someone discovers us and our attitudes on their day is that I anyway treat you like a Rabbi Elise. And when humanity wants to educate one another that Rabia is now the only person wrong in the room, Mama Anna Philander's house is now the only wrong house in South Africa, and Mama Anna Philander's children is now the only wrong in the world because they could have worked and they could have done that and they didn't work and they should have done that and they shouldn't do it, because here we say to them what we want to say, however we want to say. Then the sisters say, wait quickly everyone, we work for the boys, no one argues about it, and the boys also work for themselves, and the world is now like that. Let's not argue about it, but let us continue ourselves, our journeys of education where we are at in different functioning. And that when we allow ourselves everything, and our household is not challenging, in our household haven't been ever in corruption or in fraud or in abuses or in oppressions or in anything in the community, and we function under the 1+1 education function on earth. There is the office, there is the business, there is the food on the table, there is the house that we stay in, there is the car that we drive, there is everything. Then we allow ourselves logical listening. Logical listening not only under all that we function in technology, not whoever was in the science room, classroom only, not only whoever understands mathematics, but logical listening who is the Rabia Elise, who's Mama Anna Philander's house amongst humanity. Not who is as in wowing them, not who is as in abusing them, as in booing them, but the explanation of when Rabia says, I introduce self quickly, and I consider every part of our household, and I consider every circumstance that humanity are challenged with, and I allow myself to still introduce self. Because this functioning of humanity requires to be structured. And however we structure office is not by excluding, not by oppressing, not by abusing, not by killing out and destroying, but allowing ourselves logical functioning in every function of the human on earth. And the human on earth becomes the communications that are different in the universe. And under the different communications, I call our Mama Anna's house Mama Universe birth womb. I say that in our generation, our womb is born so amazingly. And not all of our children already know how our womb is born, and a lot of people know who our families in the world are, and a lot of people can see if Oprah Winfrey them have explained it, America have explained it, everyone explained the womb of Mama Anna Philander's house that is now born of Mama Martha, explained in an interestingly, intriguingly intelligent combination of humanity under a one house communication and education and functioning on earth. Now, Mama is now not only Mama Universe, only because of the functioning of that, but because of every part of how I get to be introduced to myself on the day. I'm like, wow, then my Mama is really Mama Universe about this communication and about the birth womb on earth, about our communication in the universe, about the way that she educated, about her reprimanding, about wherever we found ourselves at amongst our communities, we were really, really not only there because we introduced ourselves, but we were there because people wanted to listen in to Mama Anna Philander's education, where we were at in our seasons. And when I'm challenged in my house in New Zealand, and I have to shout so loud because everyone want to look at a different character, right? Like they explain on the Braxton family values, how the disruptive Mama Anna Philander's house can be. When we look in the universeness of it, then Mama Universe says the disrupted humanity are looking at is the functioning of the birth womb that includes every part of the universe. And when the children are there, they are disrupt. You don't call them disrupt and dysfunctioned, but you listen to what it Mama Anna Philander came to educate in South Africa, that Mama Universe of Mama Anna Philander in America was the Braxton's mother, and whether it was a story, whether it was a fiction, whether it was happening, it's exactly Mama Anna Philander in Mama Universe explanation that the Mama Anna in South Africa functions under the amazing colors of the universe. And she's in American celebrity house like education, in the education function of that. And she's introduced in the birth womb exactly the same. And all the Mama Anna colors is there. Mama Anna white, Mama Anna brown, Mama Anna green, Mama Anna yellow. And it's explained to South Africa. And the birth womb is now not only birth in Pal community from all the European and different family lines, but it's exactly Mama Universe about the education. And in such a birth womb, you do not allow yourself to be killed out, to be disrupted out, to be destroyed out, to be silenced out, because according to humanity, the white is the white and the black is the white. Black, and no one says the white is the white in Mama Anna Philander's house, but humanity wants to reason and argue and fight, and no one said it to Rabia. No one were fighting with them. No one were arguing with them. And the 1+1 function becomes aggression. It becomes the mathematics class. It becomes a science class. In South Africa says, and they build a house for the science team, and Rabia Elise can't buy a house. And they build a house for the mathematics class, and Rabia Elise must wait a little bit. And they build a house quickly for the technological class, and Rabia Elise must wait about it. And Capitec Bank comes, Rabia, we can't give you that loan to buy your car. You must drive a broken car. And humanity want to function with me under the 1+1 function, in a room that they dress me perfectly, and in a room that they make me naked in the same way. And while humanity wanted to divide our house And I remember someone saying to me, Rabia, now that your mother is deceased, your house are going to be divided because humanity, when people are deceased, then they divide the house. And that is not humanity. The person just said that when people are deceased, then the children fight. Then I said, but our houses we can fight in an odd way, but not in a way that people will not really fight and that our brothers will not really be so disruptive with one another and so aggressive with one another, unless someone now really comes to abuse our womb in the completeness of it. And where the human brain stands next to technology, in the mathematics class, in the scientific class, in the logical requirement of reasoning. And some people had the information, and some people wanted to manipulate the world about the information. And while other people tried to manipulate the world, I remember my sister Antoinette stayed in the education function of every requirement. Of her to be educated, of her to be in classroom, of her to be in a career, so that she can educate in a way that she feel fine where she's at and where she's educating and however she has to educate about her journey on earth. Now, that's not only become a job, I always say. It's not only for me, Ruby Eilis, a daily job. I learned that nobody builds and it bull and build it, but that it becomes every communication about you. And only because of that, I made it very clear that my AWOKH business is my AWOKH business. And my day that I do a recording on a podcast is a day that I do a recording on a podcast. And when I do a recording on the podcast, in the functioning, yes, the 1+1, in the functioning under the 1+1 communication, are disrupting my human brain communication, not only by me on earth having maybe been challenged the way technology and people want to explain it, but the way people have gotten to be introduced to a Mama Anna Philander's house and wanted to manipulate a Rabia Elisa's brain communication in the functioning of technology next to the brain communication. Let me not say in the universeness of it. Let me rephrase what I always say on social media in the universeness of it. And then everyone is like, where do you go and look in the universe? The functioning of the human technology next to my brain communication. And under that, I educate New Zealand when I speak in my house and when I do a recording. Then I do a recording because they are trying to continuously manipulate me sitting in front of the television. And the television programs can continuously be abusive and they are managing it. And they are really sometimes trying to manage the situation. But it can sometimes be oppressive for me, the viewer, because everything they sometimes communicate is that they are having a war against our mama's house and that they do not care what I say or how I sit in front of television. They do not care sometimes how they abuse me, the viewer, on that. And the Maoris have been through that abuse, and anyone can explain it in any way. But what I say is, when I start educate on my social media page, what I sense I'm being challenged with on earth, then I still find myself educating New Zealand television that the communication on television does not function on my human brain in a way that it wants to override my every communication of my brain. And when I'm so thorough and direct about it, that everyone gets the 1+1 technological functioning next to the human brain communication right. And they do not the whole time come and function it and override my Mama Anna's womb communication in my day. Because the moment technology wants to override how they communicate to me through television while I sit in front of television, and the moment New Zealand tries that every time, because they have learned it by America, China wants it, and the education function, and people in poverty is doing it, and this one is arguing with this one in the world, and Putin is fighting with Zelensky because they're also controlling them, and Rabia must explain it in a way that there's also war in her, and they don't care how Rabia explains it on the day. Then Rabia says to everyone, you'll give way, please, like an listeners and Gulu that's now standing next to a sister Malvina La Chicken Abrams, and they look like Mama Anna, and their reactions on social media looks like that, and Rabia feels oppressed, and they say they didn't say it, and everyone's reaction in South Africa is exactly been that. And my daughter Tanika was burned under the complete communication of a whole team that was involved in it. And I say that I was never angry or going to mention it. In New Zealand, they had a television program on today where they had the funeral clothes that I had on when Tanika had a funeral. And I'm the Real Housewife of America. They once again send the communication to me, and I have to sit like a viewer, and they are communicating to me while oppressing me in the communication. And while Arabia sits in front of television, and once again, someone wants to explain the way they want to explain it to me. And once again, they talk in the world to one another the way that they want to. And then I'm really not rude when I explain everything that I have to in all of the colors that I explain it on my social media page. And I said it today, I was one of the most kindest people that you can ever get. In all of these technologies and people arguing with me, and you sit in front of television, by the time I get up, they have done all of those colors that are oppressive to me. In nowhere in those colors were a color that was including me in the discussion. There was no color that they wanted to include me into listening to the television program. Every program that comes on, every advert next to that is sometimes exactly in my face. And by the time that you get up there and you have to talk 10,000 times, arguing with yourself in the house, arguing with AI, having to explain to China who's listening in, and my sister herself in a job, and the people in the office are also listening in, and Rabia has to really now say it to myself in my house. Because where we are at, we are worthy of our daily jobs. We are worthy of educating in a fine way, of explaining in a fine way. And if we are oppressed like that, then we are worthy of saying, you know, I have a right to defend myself on the day. And I even have a right in our household, our Mama Anna Philander's house, have a right to be fine where we are at. Wherever we are educating at amongst humanity. And while we function under the 1+1 communication function, that on technology, it's under mathematical function. And under the mathematical function, it becomes directly linked to the science room, like we learn all in secondary school. And when it's directly linked to the science room, then you stand directly independent in that communication. And when that communication stands behind the ISA business of Malvina, and sorry that we have to explain it in that way again, but when AWOKH Business is now Rabia and ISA business is Malvina, and Rabia stands directly under a robot that is now a ISA robot. And everyone says, but leave social media, and the day, and Rabia says, it's not only on social media. It's my day in this house. And everyone says, but we don't want to hear you say it, because this earth is like that. And Rabia says, our children wants to study in university. They want to be fine in school. My sister wants to be fine in her office. And she doesn't realize every communication and oppression that's happening around the house. Then I have a right to actually just exactly, quickly say what I'm actually saying and explaining us through. And while we are functioning under technology, and it's one communication line, the communication line is not going to be oppressive to the viewer in front of television. The communication line that is now my mobile phone, my human brain in that same function. Because remember, televisions were here many years ago. And humanity didn't feel so oppressed sitting in front of a television. Technology is the same function. It sometimes seems like the mathematic room or the scientific room, and it's sometimes technology, and it's sometimes linked to the stars up in the sky. And America explains it in the celebrity house. It's the star communication, and Rabia looks like that, and the star is linked like that. And if that communication are abused, and people could have managed it in a fine way, and they the whole time argue with me, and they keep me in a courtroom argument, and I can't hear them in person. But the moment that I sit in front of television, they want to make it clear that they're questioning me and I'm having to answer. They're questioning me and I'm having to answer. They're questioning me. And my day goes like that the whole day in New Zealand. And I really just want to educate our generation through our, my 40-year journey, my evoke communication, and all that I can educate and explain them through what they might find challenged. Then I don't want to explain through in a fighting way the whole time. I don't want to be angry every time I have to run to a social media to go and explain to everyone. You're managing the process. You're manage it in a way that are fine for humanity. You're owning all of those processes. Just manage it in a way that you'll find. And if you don't know, there's countries that have years of experience in those communications, and that can sometimes explain it better than the other. And when you're the whole time gonna oppress me under it, then I'm gonna take control of that whole communication, and I'm gonna educate you all on my AWOKH leading page generation, and I'm gonna thoroughly educate you all through. Because no way can it be fine to oppress someone. And then everyone looks around and seems like you are really sitting naked because you want to sit naked. Really, if I wanted to sit naked, I really am appreciating this season because I always had to cover my legs. And that photo, when I posted, it's for everyone that has not really made me so naked and oppressed in the season that I really wanted to educate fine on my AWOKH business. And fashion is anyway that there's nakedness, and I'm anyway educating it on my AWOKH page, but every time I have to shift that photo, and the whole world has to look at my open leg, and someone edited so amazingly, and it looks right, and the photos and all the colors looks right. And then I'm now sometimes angry when I see that post through. And I'm really not angry because I'm really fashion educating also. And while I really want to do fashion educate fine, and my sister fashion educate also, and I also found myself in my own fashion education. But then sometimes I really don't want to post that photo. And sometimes I don't want to post it on all the pages, because by the time that I have to post it on my LinkedIn page, and LinkedIn is really, I've learned, for professional offers. And I really wanted to keep my LinkedIn page fine. And some people have a good laugh because they make you so angry that you're almost standing naked on that day. And then I really sometimes say, under the 1+1 mathematical function, everyone. And that is the office function and office communication. And when the office function is under the 1+1, my mobile phone is off. I'm quickly going to switch off because my battery is going flat. And we're going to conclude this discussion again quickly.